Let's catch up with some Spurs free agency news and let's focus on the big.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Monday. Welcome back, everybody, to Locked On Spurs, right on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia. I'm a Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio, and I hope you had a great weekend and you're back at it at work, ready to tackle, being an adult. We all, that sucks. But regardless of that, hey, well, at least we'll get you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know what to do. Go subscribe ASAP. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You want to go check out FanDuel right now. New customers can get themselves $150 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. Yeah, go check that out ASAP. So what are we talking about today? This past weekend, my goodness, I feel like your head had to be in a swivel, right? Spurs are this big man. They'll hear, Mamu, what's going on here from Luke Cornett to Yabusele. Yeah, there's so much going on. And it's pretty obvious where the Spurs are going to be targeting or what position the Spurs are going to be targeting this offseason. That is the big man position. So we're going to go over that and then get our thoughts on the rookies that they were introduced to the city of San Antonio this past weekend. So much more. If we have time, maybe we'll get into some Locked On Spurs fan comments. So because we got to ask our guest if he has time for you fans. I don't know. Would he have time for you guys? Let's find out. Bring him on. He is James Pledger, San Antonio Sports Star very own. Be sure to follow my next at I Am Pledger. You want to do that right now. He is host of Extra Innings, and hopefully he will address some Spurs fan comments. You always have time.
Always got time for you and the fans, Jeff.
All right, I appreciate you. How you been, buddy?
I'm good. What's going on? You doing all right?
Well, you can ask, is eating three cups of ramen noodles in a row good for you? That's not good for you, right?
I've done it, so I would say yes.
I just did that before we hit record. I was so hungry. I said, let me pop another one and another one and another one. Okay, after the third one, I was like, this has got to stop. This has got to stop.
My go-to when I'm super hungry, I cook 2 of them at a time.
Oh, you get what you do, like double the time on the microwave?
No, not in the microwave. I do it on the stove. I'll throw 2 of the squares in there.
Yeah.
Let it cook. Put the 2 packets in there. And then just like Goku just going ham on noodles.
Exactly. James, as always, we thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. You come out at a good time, too, because this past weekend you saw, my goodness, you felt like you had to have your head on a swivel. I mean, it was like Spurs this guy and Spurs this guy and from Riley Minix to Yabusele to Cornett. I mean, the list was going on and on and on. We'll get to all that in a few minutes, but it's obvious, James, the Spurs, if you read the tea leaves, they're looking for a big man this free agency period, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be something that you and I have talked about, whether it's on my show. There are 2 things that is great as the talent is on this roster. When you talk about the 2nd overall pick and Dylan Harper and Fox and Castle and Wemby, even Harrison Barnes, you've got some good players on this roster. You've got a lot there. Right now, the backup big behind Wemby is Jeremy Sohan. There is no big on this roster, and a lot of us don't want Wemby playing the 5 really to protect him. So there's an obvious glaring need there and shooters. Like, this team lacks consistent 3-point shooters, and those are 2 glaring holes that they have. So the fact that they're interested or tied to or linked to these bigs is not or shouldn't come as a shock to anyone, because they need to be.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody should be shocked that this is the route they're going to go with to address that need. They obviously didn't do it in the draft, So we'll see what they do. So right off the bat, James, let's go over the first candidate here for your San Antonio Spurs. And it's Boston's free agent big man, Luke Cornett. According to Jake L. Fisher, quote, according to another center target, there we go. Sources say the Rivals executives expect San Antonio to pursue Boston's Luke Cornett. Now, the last time I remember, James, didn't he cook San Antonio? Oh, just totally cooked San Antonio.
I mean,
last season.
They're cooked seems a bit like a overstatement. I mean, he probably had one of his better games against San Antonio. I could say that, but he solves the big man issue in terms of just being a big man that does big man things. He's 6 points, 6 rebounds a game in, a few minutes. He doesn't space the floor though. At least he didn't last year. He shoots 32% from 3 for his career, but 0 last year. So he is an interior presence. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but you've got guys like Brook Lopez that can be 2 birds, 1 stone, if you will, when it comes to things like that. I know Naz Reid's name was brought up a lot by Spurs fan. He's off the table, re-signing with Minnesota. Same goes for Julius Randle, off the table, going back to Minnesota. And if they are with their team or restricted free agent, or the reason Yabusele's name gets brought up a lot is because he is, although restricted, Philly is against the cap in a sense, to where re-signing him would be detrimental with, all the money they have tied up in Maxey and Embiid and Paul George. So like they can't technically continue to throw money at that problem. They have to get younger, and it doesn't make sense for them to bring him back in that sense. So like there's a ton of guys out there that, I mean, we keep hearing about Chicago and Vucevic, and Vucevic is another guy that the Spurs have been linked to, and it's great. He would only cost about a 2nd round pick, but you're taking on a ton of money, which is part of the reason Chicago wants to get out from under that contract. So it all depends what the Spurs actually are looking for in terms of a big man, because you have certain big men that can space the floor a little bit. And I don't know. I like Yabusele. Don't get me wrong. Are we just going to be the team that's linked to every French friend of Victor Wembanyama?
Yes, absolutely, yes. I mean, look in the draft, Maxime Reynald. I mean, get him because he's French and he's Wemby's friend.
Yeah,
yeah.
This is chess buddy.
His chess buddy. No, I want to go back to Yabusele, and it has nothing to do with him being French and buddies with Wemby, right?
But I like where his game has kind of gone.
I like his game, but I don't know. It's the type of player the Spurs need. Nobody reminds me of, just like a younger Malik Rose. That's what it reminds me of. A younger Malik Rose doesn't really stretch the floor. I mean, I think he could get, he's a big dude. Don't get me wrong. He'll get down and dirty in the paint, but he's not the stretch big I think the Spurs need.
Yeah, and he's come a long way, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking about what he was when he was first drafted into the league before leaving to go back overseas to play for a little bit before returning to the 76ers on this most recent deal. Now, I think he's better than he gets credit for. He did shoot 38% from 3 this past year with Philadelphia. So I think he's better than he's given credit from behind the arc. I don't know how much volume I want him taking, but he can spread the floor. And my main concern about him is size.
Yeah.
Because he is what, 6'9", 6'8"?
Yeah, that's who they list him as. You don't know that in real.
Yeah.
He's probably really about 6'7" then.
The Spurs need help, and any help will help. We saw last season just the addition of someone who's been in the NBA and played NBA big in Bismack Biyombo. And there's a reason he was a free agent that was on the street ready to be had at the time he was had. yet he made the Spurs look completely 100 times different at center because you had a competent NBA big in at the time.
Yeah.
They need to upgrade that position in some way, shape, form, fathom. And it's funny because the guys they're kicking around, Luke Cornett,
Yabusele.
Gershon Yabusele.
Yeah.
Like the names that are actually linked and tied to and not fan theories or a favorite of mine like Brook Lopez or if it's a name that's actually been linked to him, you'll notice a very distinct similarity in all of those things with those people. They're gonna be really cheap and they are backup bigs for second, third guys off the bench for the teams that they're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we take a break here? When we get back, let's discuss still the free bigs. Maybe the Spurs can look in their own backyard. What about that? We'll discuss that and more with James Pledger right here on Locked On Spurs. Be sure to follow him on X at I Am Pledger. He is host of Extra Innings. Be sure to check that out ASAP. I want to talk about FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel makes it the best way to make every game even more exciting. You already know how to follow the action, right? So why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game, all the action, while your friends are, they're getting sunburned on the beach. Yeah, you'll love using FanDuel, right? You got a way to track your favorite matchups. You can keep it fresh on the app because that app has new daily promotions. Basically, it's just a fun way to bet. And by the way, it's easy to use, fast payouts, makes even the regular season game feel like must-watch events. So whether you're going to be placing a same-game parlay or watch your bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. Due to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. And we're back. We're here on Locked On Spurs, joined by James Pledger to kick us off here on a Monday. He is with San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on X at I Am Pledger. We are talking about free agency news, and specifically a pattern that's developed over this weekend. That is, some bigs are being tied to San Antonio, namely Yasa Booley for the Sixers free agent. And, of course, you got Luke Cornett out of Boston. And, James, you hit it on the nail earlier when you said the thing that they have in common are there'll be cheap replacements. But the Spurs can splurge if they need to. And you brought up a name, Brook Lopez. You don't think Brook will help out his old Stanford buddy, Mitch Johnson, and come to San Antonio and give the Spurs exactly what they need? Because if there's a wish list, he is at the top of my wish list. Brook Lopez fits everything the Spurs need in a backup big. James, your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. There's a reason that I brought his name up a lot, and the only thing he doesn't bring is the bouncy big aspect. He's not going to be that rim runner coming off the screen and rolls. Like, that's not going to be Brook Lopez's game. But other than that, and he's 38, so there's questions about how long you have him. Like, what could it? Sure, but a year or two of Brook Lopez, it makes this team infinitely better in terms of what that seems like they're trying to do. They've got a bunch of guys that can run at the rim. They've got Castle. They've got Fox. They've got Harper. They've got rim runners, the people that are going to attack the paint. What you need is people that can now space the floor and pull out other big men to the perimeter to open up that lane and unclog it for all of the non-shooters or, floor spacing options. It helps to unclog the paint. We saw last year teams disrespected San Antonio's ability to shoot the three consistently so much that they would just pack the paint on them and take away their ability to get into the lane easily or consistently. And that shows you what the league thinks of San Antonio's team as constructed, at least as it was constructed last year. Now, there are intriguing options you add a Brook Lopez. He helps to unclog that.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability for him to guard other bigs, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
very big. And
Yeah.
that's my favorite part is people talk about his floor spacing. He's a 3-point shooter. He's this, he's pick and pop. He's that. I love his defense. He is a very good defender against other bigs. And he is a savvy veteran when it comes to stuff like that. And Wemby being able to learn from what he does because he's 38. He's not hyper athletic, but he's always seems to be in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
So Wemby picking his brain about how he plays defense cerebrally, like, and being able to add that into his wealth of knowledge that he already has on top of the fact that championship pedigree, won a title with Giannis in the Bucks. Like he knows what it takes to get in the postseason, win in the postseason. And that's something that this team doesn't have right now is experience in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, just outside, but Harrison Barnes is probably the only exception on the roster now.
That's it. He's the only guy. You had Chris Paul last year, but championship. He's gotten to a championship game with Phoenix, but he doesn't have championship winning experience.
Yeah, I definitely like Brook Lopez. I hope, in the free agency period, open up, the old laptop or wake up one morning and I see the Spurs signed him. They'd be great. And look, the Spurs can't afford to pay him. They do.
You and I can both fucking down commerce on that.
God, I mean, that would be just phenomenal. But, it feels like Brook Lopez, I don't want to say a pipe dream because I think it can happen.
Feels like a pipe dream because of the names they're actually tied to. It feels like a pipe dream.
Because you see on one end, it's Yasabuli, Cornet, and you got Brook Lopez, and not even tied to Brook Lopez. So where's that? But, if it's about cash, then why not look at their own backyard? And that is Charles Bassey and Sandro Mamukelashvili. This with Bassey, he's been hampered with injuries, but he is that bouncy big. When he does play, he's an effective rim protector. The blocks don't drop off when Wemby's out. I mean, he definitely can block the shots, but he's just a really good, solid defending, bouncy big, and that's about it, James.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason we all got so enamored with Bismack Biyombo when he got here, because that's the difference level between him and everybody else that was on the Spurs roster as a big before that. And that includes Mamu too. And I love Sandro Mamukelashvili. Like I do. I love what he brings. I love his ability of floor space. He's okay at best, right? I mean, you don't want him. Like I like what he brings offensively. Let me put it that way. Okay. I like what he brings offensively. That's what I like.
And what he brings to the Frost Bank Center, that is a star powered Flavor Flav. So
like that's what I like about Sandro. And, that's great. But I do believe you can easily upgrade that position. And Charles Bassey is another reason. You keep talking about, he's hurt. Yeah, he's always hurt. And it's tough to count on 82 games, I have a guy that's never played 30.
But it feels like we get teased because when he's out there, I mean, how many times are we like, whoa, this guy can ball?
I think we have whoa moments, not whoa.
We've seen him just protect that. You know what it is? I just like the defense. The defense just gets me, and I'm like, wow. I don't really see that. Yes, there is a somewhat of a drop off between Wemby and him, but it's not like the Spurs are just matador defense when he's out there. I mean, he's doing a job out there.
Yeah, I think we get whoa moments from him on defense and his energy and what he brings. I feel like the moments of whoa that we get, whether it's a block or this, insane like ability to run the floor, like we'll catch that whoa moment and hold on to it. I think there's a lot of bad in between those moments. I think he gets beat consistently by, savvy bigs. And I worry about think about it in a way. Why are the Spurs the only one that seem to want him? Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Is because he hasn't put enough on tape consistently to where the rest of the league would want his services at anything more than a minimum type deal.
Yeah.
And I get it. Charles Bassey's from San Antonio. He went to San Anthony, and before going out and transferring and going to the academy and all the stuff that he did. Like, I get it. I do. But just because they're from here doesn't mean they're good for here.
Yeah, exactly.
And this team has to take some steps forward. And in order to take step forwards, if you're going to continue to surround Wemby with these like pieces, you got to start filling in the edges better. You got to start putting things around him that need to be around him, aka floor spacing, aka, competent NBA defenders of big men that can give Wemby a break from having to guard, whether it's Embiid or Joker or whoever, every minute he's on the floor. Having a guy that can actually take that off his plate and let him roam and play help side gives this team a versatility that is unfathomable of what they could be defensively if everybody buys in and Carter Bryant plays the way that a lot of people hope that he can.
Yeah. And it was Sandro, again, I would get it if they don't bring him back because he's not the big they need. I mean, we just throw him as a big just because he's a burny dude, but he isn't tall. He can be a bucket guy. He can get some buckets. We all know that, but you're right. The Spurs need to make some improvements.
Mamu reminds me of what we thought Luka Samanic was supposed to be.
Yeah. Sandwich. Yeah, I remember Sandwich. Yeah. But there's other names out there for ABC too. There's Don Barlow. He's now a free agent. There's Clint Capella.
It's gonna be a fun week, man.
Yeah. You got to keep your head on a swivel there. But ultimately, I as much as I would love for Brook Lopez to come to San Antonio, I don't see that happening. I expect they're gonna get just one of those type players. Sabule, Cornette. Maybe they see it in Bassey. We don't know. We'll definitely wait to see what the Spurs do. He is James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. Make sure to follow him on X at I Am Pledger. He is host of Extra Innings over there at the Star. He's going to tell you about that and more in just a few minutes. But coming up next, we're going to get James's reaction. We haven't heard what his thoughts on the newest members of the Spurs, Dylan Harper, Carter Bryant, their introductory conference. We're going to talk about that and coming up right here on Locked on Spurs. We're back right here on Locked on Spurs, joined by James Pledger. He is San Antonio Sports Star's very own, and he also hosts Extra Innings. If you want to follow him on X at I Am Pledger. So, James, we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the NBA draft came and went. And first of all, it felt kind of like okay, yeah, we're done with the draft. That's what it felt like. There was not that much excitement. There was no blockbuster trades. There was no really, those moments in the draft where like, oh my God, they drafted him at 9 and 10. What is going on here?
Yeah,
it just felt like okay, we're done. That's what it felt like, James. What did you think about
there was a lot of hype leading into this draft, which I think is what led to the letdown of this draft in terms of the movement. And there was a lot of movement, but the biggest move was, the Pelicans moving up. I'm protecting a first next year to draft Derek Queen. And that feels dumb because the Pelicans are in the Western Conference and the team's not very good. So, and you don't expect Derek Queen to be that kind of player that's going to be that kind of a game changer for them. So I'm protecting a lottery pick to move up 10 spots. Feels reckless at best, right? And so, outside of that, we were expecting, are they going to trade, Lauri Markkanen during the draft? Is Giannis going to get traded during the draft? We were expecting bigger movement, I think, in terms of players attached to these picks as well. And it just didn't happen. And I think as far as Spurs fans are concerned, there was a lot of intrigue about 14. Are you trading 14? Are you going to get a Cam Johnson? Are you going to do something with that 14th pick
Yeah.
to solidify this roster even more, and they didn't. They stuck, they picked, and Carter Bryant's the guy.
Yeah, exactly. I was at the Spurs media session at the Frost for that night, and first of all, tip the captain of the Spurs. They really took care of the media that night. We had space to write and move, and we had a bunch of food catered for it, to the point of some of the Spurs PR staff were like, "Jeff, can you just please take the chicken tenders home? Just take them. Just take them."
Was it at the Frost or the Rock?
Oh, sorry, it was at the Rock. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, yes, it was at the Rock. My bad. Yeah, it was at the Rock in La Cantera.
How is that place? I've yet to go out there yet.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's definitely you're gonna, not since you haven't been out there, but you're gonna see like the end product. I remember going out there when it was not the way it looks today.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Thinking like, man, God, this is it. But no, they did fix it up good. But yeah,
Because all the players have raved about
it's
some
nice.
facilities, how it looks, and I'm wondering from a media end, how is it?
Yeah, no, it's nice. Yeah, I think they did the right thing by moving. They moved us upstairs into the court for this year. Because the media holding room for us, like where we wait for them to take us to the court, it's kind of narrow and it can get a little cramped in there.
Yeah.
So for this night, they just moved us to the court, and which again, good job, Spurs PR staff.
So, sorry, I didn't want to go down a tangent of Nerdville in terms of media stuff, but I was
no,
genuinely intrigued because I haven't been there yet.
Well, if you ever get a chance to go out there, go out there. Even if it's off season, like right now, it's still fun.
Yeah.
You were like this. They got trails out there. You can jog and hike and run and all this stuff. Yeah, really nice one. They tell you, like, okay, if you go this way, your jog run is going to be 2.4 miles. This way is 1.3. This one's 1.6.
Oh, cool.
So it's pretty cool. But anyway, the point is that draft night, yeah, it felt like kind of like, we're done. Okay.
Oh, it was very. In terms of the buildup we were promised.
Yeah,
like it's like when you buy that. Oh, you get, since the 4th of July is coming up, it feels like you buy that big, expensive, and then it's just kind of like, and you're like,
yeah, and we're done. Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah, it was even like Brian Wright came out pretty quick. Usually there's a somewhat of a delay after the first round is over from Brian Wright, but it was around pick 27 when we were told, like, hey, as soon as 30 is done, he's coming out. So I was like,
yeah,
thank you. I mean, that's how quick it was. And
it was so quick too. Like, we knew they weren't picking in the second round. We knew it before the draft started.
The Spurs were the first team to make a trade on that night. It was the Spurs.
I had to keep double checking it because I expected it to be more. I saw Spurs trade. I'm like, this can't be it.
But ultimately, number 2, no brainer here, Dylan Harper, and number 14, Carter Bryant. By the way, James, I felt like the new kid in class where you're trying to get used to the names because you're the new one. Sort of felt like that night.
Was it getting used to things?
Yeah,
I don't know if you're this way or not, but I'm all for it. Give away 2 and 11. Like, let them wash the stank off those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And I never understood, like, Spurs fans that didn't want Harper to have number 2.
Is Harper the first player to get number 2 since Kawhi? He is? Okay, there was not like a little in between, like a quick signee or something that came and went. Nothing like that, right? All right. I want to make sure on that. But I think with Dylan Harper, James, again, no brainer. You're giving yourself what many think could be the better prospect long term.
We'd have a lot more to talk about if Dylan Harper wasn't the pick at 2, because it's like Wemby. There's an open and shut factor to that pick.
Yeah. Brian Wright after the draft said, what impresses him more is not necessarily the stats and what he could do physically on the court, with just, even though he's aware that he's a good player, that he still wants to be part of a team. So that's good to know. But, and I think we already know what we're going to get with Dylan Harper, hopefully that and more. And
we've talked about this ad nauseum through the draft process.
Exactly. Yeah, we already know. Okay, but Carter Bryant. Let me say it again. Carter Bryant. Why? Because on the freaking introduction session they had this past weekend, I had the names flipped when I went to Dylan Harper. So Carter
you're like Bryant Carter?
Yeah, it's that name with 2 first names. It's that thing, that trick. So
Yeah,
Carter Bryant comes up and he does his thing, and I talked to him about a few things, and then Dylan Harper comes on.
Do you
But
silent?
my brain was still thinking like the rhyming Harper, Carter. So I said, "Hey Carter," sorry, Dylan Harper, like that during my chat with Harper. So then if you go back and listen to the thing, especially I think during Harper, there were other media members that were calling him Carter. So everybody was so trying to get yeah. Everyone was still trying to get adjusted to the new name.
You started a very bad trend.
So, but the point is, Carter Bryant was interesting because Brian Wright did admit that they were going to try to move up to get him if he wasn't on the board at number 14. So the Spurs obviously had eyes on him. Why do you think that? Why do you think the Spurs were willing to trade up for the kid out of Arizona?
Intangibles. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's a lot like Jeremy Sohan. It's intangibles. They drafted Sohan at 9 because, I mean, he came off the bench at Baylor. He wasn't a starter there, but, he was an energy guy. He was a vibes guy. He was the dirty work guy, if you will, and he's been that for the Spurs to this point. Carter Bryant has a skill set of a couple of things, I think. He is a shooter, so hopefully he can develop and become one of those floor spacers we so desperately need and can contribute relatively early, hopefully, and picks it up. But the one thing I know he does at 6'8", with that length, that wingspan, that and his athleticism, the switchability, the defense, and that's the thing. You look at his tape, or if you watched him at Arizona when Carter Bryant came on the floor, is a lot of the same things that I just said about he goes 100 miles an hour when he's on the floor, and he exerts it on defense, and he has the ability to guard 5 positions and be switchable, and he has the potential to be able to give you that floor spacing, and he's super bouncy. So there are traits there. You didn't see a lot of it. He averaged 6 points in 6 minutes a game at Arizona. But when he was on the floor, you saw why the Spurs would have a level of interest in him, let's say. Because he has the intangibles, he has the tools, he has those things. How quickly can they develop it? And that's what it boils down to. And
is he a project? Is he a project?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he is, right? I think he is.
And maybe he gets it. Maybe he runs with it. But it's going to come down to, because Sean Sweeney's defense is going to be different from the defense they were trying to run with Pop. It is. And Sweeney's defense is his calling card, and they do switch well up and down, and they man up, and it's almost Oklahoma City-like in a sense like that. So having that type of player brings that to that level, that end of the floor, which they need. They're so bad defensively when Wemby's like, people can stop telling me about the possibilities of Devin Vassell and what he could be defensively. People can stop with all of that. They don't care about defense. They don't care. You don't get numbers as bad plus minus as they have defensively with Wemby on and off the floor and tell me that they give a bleep about defense. So the hiring of Sean Sweeney to be the first chair is important, because it means there's going to be an effort given on that. Like, there are a handful of guys that I think care about defense. Wemby's one of them. Stephon Castle's another one of them. I think Carter Bryant can be that guy. I think Jeremy cares to be that kind of guy, right?
Yeah, I would love in there Harper as well. I think Harper is going to want that too.
It remains to be seen for me with Harper. I need to see it for him. Like, he is a bucket. He will get you 20 a night, and that's cool. Defense is about want to.
Yeah.
Do you want to? And you could see it with Oklahoma City. Like, when they lock in defensively, it is a different thing. Like, they can play good defense, but when they actually slap the floor, lock in defensively, it's a switch.
Yeah. Well, Brian Wright even brought up OKC after draft night, saying like, "Hey, OKC runs those type of wing players." And as a matter of fact, I even asked him, during that session, I go like, "Okay, so I was like, so Brian, you got Harper, you got Carter, and I get it, best available." I go, but was searching for a big, kind of on the to-do list on your draft night, and he said no. He said no. He goes, he goes, me, yeah, he
They'll
thinks so,
draft
honey,
me.
but
And
but
I'm
no,
okay
but
with that. I am
yeah,
okay with that because
yeah,
that is the surefire way to screw up the draft,
yeah,
right? By reaching or for
yeah,
percepted need or
yeah.
something that don't reach and take a big like it's not that's not what you do. That's
Yeah.
not how you best utilize the draft. That's how you utilize free agency. That's how you solve your needs.
Mhm.
And this week's going to be very important for that. That's why you started this show talking about the bigs the way we
Mhm.
did. Because think about the Western Conference, man. Think
Oh
about
yeah.
it. You've got OKC, you've got Hartenstein and Wemby, or Hartenstein and Chet,
And
and
Chet,
they'll run those two together on the floor at times, and
yeah.
so they can get pretty big. Caruso, SGA
Mhm.
6'6", like Lou Dort, they've got size that they can roll at you. Think about this lineup that the Houston Rockets will be able to roll out next year. Like
Mhm.
we always talked about Golden State's lineup of death, the death lineup, right? And when they
Mhm.
go small and run people off the floor, but they did it spurts periodically. Think about this lineup that the Houston Rockets will be able to employ next year now going forward. You got Alperen Şengün,
Mhm.
Steven Adams,
Yep.
both over 7 foot. Kevin
Yep.
Durant at 6'11. Jabari
Yep.
Smith at 6'11. Amen Thompson at 6'8 is going to be your
Yeah.
smallest guy on the floor.
It's a big team. That's a
That's
big team.
like I said, they're not going to run that lineup. That's not going to be their
Yeah.
starting lineup. But they can potentially go to a big lineup that can
Yeah.
really frustrate teams, especially when we talk about San Antonio. And after Wemby, your next tallest guy is Jeremy Sohan at what, 6'9"? Is he
Yeah.
6'9", 6'10"?
And that's what we list him. No, he's probably shorter. I think he's probably 6'8".
Okay, so like
Yeah.
that's the next biggest guy on the team, him and
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes. That's not good.
No,
Because
not good at
when
all.
you're talking about potentially facing that lineup or OKC or Denver when they go big, because it was a question: is Michael Porter Jr. going to be a part of this team moving
Yep.
forward? It still is, and you've still got
Sadly,
Eric
yeah.
Gordon, and you've still got Nikola Jokic. Like, and the Spurs aren't the only ones searching for bigs. The Lakers are searching for bigs.
Mhm.
So you're not
Yep.
going to be alone. Like people are starting to realize after trying to copy Golden State's death lineup for as long as they did. Like the death lineup was a small lineup in the whole game that they went to. It was an exploitation lineup is what they used it as. It
Mhm.
wasn't their starting lineup, it wasn't their main lineup. So
Yeah.
people are starting to realize, oh, no, bigs are actually needed in the NBA.
Mhm.
It's not just about drafting guards.
Yeah,
Although the Spurs
exactly.
drafted a lot of guards.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, they have. Yeah, they have.
Bigger guards. Stephon Castle 6'5", Dylan Harper 6'6". It's not like they're small. They can play like you could put Castle at the 2, you could put Harper at the 3, and Fox at the 1,
Yeah.
and not miss a beat.
Yeah, I know. Hey, James, you got time for a quick fan comment?
Obviously.
Oh, I know you do. All right. Well, let's see what we got here. Let me
What do
look
we got?
through here. We're up against it, everybody. All right. Let me find it here. I got to get a good one here. Let's see as it refreshes as I
Give me
look.
one or two. Give me some good ones.
I'm looking for it right here. All right. Here we go. This one's about Brian Wright. This is from Safe Space Invader. Okay, here we
Okay.
go. I like Brian Wright, but sometimes he acts like he knows how to build a team, like he's been there and done that. But he hasn't done much since once he has been here. He fell into some picks by being a horrible team and has drafted horribly at times. Start proving yourself before you act like you know what you're doing. That is from Safe Space Invader on Locked On Spurs YouTube.
Well, I hope he's in a safe space. I hope he's in a safe space.
You gonna cook, James? Are you gonna cook? Are you gonna cook,
Look,
James?
Give Brian Wright his flowers, man. Wemby is a no-brainer pick. You had to be in the position to draft Wemby, and he built this. He tore this team down to get into that position. So give him his flowers for that. Give him his flowers for his drafting of Stefan Castle, the other rookie of the year this year, having Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper. Remains to be seen what they turn into, but give him his flowers for that. Jeremy Sohan, I think, is a good piece to a team. I don't think he's going to ever be anything more than he is, which is a piece that a team needs. But you managed to draft him in a not so loaded draft. There are a lot of things that he made the trade to get De'Aaron Fox where you didn't have to give up much of anything. And you got a Harrison Barnes in the deal, which is something very, very good. People like to put the Lucas Samish thing on him. That was RC's last guy.
Yeah, that was RC's guy. Yeah, that was RC's guy.
And he rebounded by getting Keldon. So, the draft.
And let's not forget too, swung a deal with Atlanta to get all those picks.
That's where I was going next. The people cooked him for the Atlanta trade, and I was like, getting unprotected picks from Atlanta, that is spicy. And all these years later, after they finally come to fruition, everybody's like, well, we can't trade those picks. We can't trade those picks. Well, if they're so valuable to you, give the man his credit for getting them for you.
Exactly.
Because also, if he doesn't make that move, you don't get Wemby because you still got DeJounte Murray on this team, and you're not bad enough to get Wemby. So all of these things are intertwined. And while he hasn't done everything that every Spurs fan has wanted and chased every player known to man, he has built this roster out to where it looks pretty good. They just have to fill in the holes. And it's hard. It's hard because they have a plan. We don't know what their plan is. They're never going to tell us what their plan is. But they have a plan that they are meticulously sticking to in terms of the assets they've acquired, how valuable they are to them, and what they're willing to give up of that future in terms of talent to this roster immediately. There is a fine line that they are walking with that.
Yeah. But I was also going to bring up too, not like RC Buford has his misses. You mentioned Samanic. What about James Anderson? There's that.
The list is
the list goes on and on. So every GM has their good moments and bad moments. Brian Wright is going to have his good moments.
He gets credit for Tim, Tony, and Monet.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Well,
and Kawhi.
And Kawhi. Yeah, that was a good one too. But James, got to give you a little round of applause. Take your time out for the fans. At least get one fan comment in here on this episode of Locked On Spurs. James, we've been talking about it all show. What is Extra Innings? Why should Spurs fans or just Locked On Spurs fans check it out?
Well, it's not a baseball show. Extra Innings is my show on San Antonio Sports Star. It comes on after the Blitz from 2 to 6, which I also produce, so you should tune in for that as well. It's also on YouTube where we are now, so you can always go watch all of our shows live on YouTube at SA Sports Star, and we've got comments going during the shows. We will address fan commentary during the show. You can call into the show. I will always make time for y'all to talk about whatever it is that is important on the day. This week, it's going to be a lot about free agency, I guarantee you. It's going to be the Spurs' rumored interest again in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Sham's comments from a couple of weeks ago about the Spurs stockpiling their assets for a bigger fish than Kevin Durant. Those are going to be very big talking points this week. And I will pose this to you, Jeff.
What's up?
If it costs you a Harper or a Castle, and of course the picks that it would necessitate to get a Giannis trade done.
Mhm.
Would you be willing to do it? Because Spurs fans seemingly think they can get the same thing they did with Fox, which is we're going to give you a bunch of nothing.
Scraps. Yeah, scraps for Fox. James, in a short answer, yes, I would. Yes. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Because he finished third in the MVP voting. He's a 2-time MVP, a finals MVP, and a champion. Yes, you would. He's a top 5 player in the NBA. And you pair him with Wemby, and you figure out the rest.
I will bleep and do that in a heartbeat. So, but that's why you got to check out Extra Innings on San Antonio Sports Star. Make sure to follow James on X at I Am Pleasure, or just go on YouTube. Now, subscribe to Locked On Spurs. There's also San Antonio Sports Star YouTube page. Go there and subscribe to their channel. You can see all their shows and so much more. James, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us here at Locked On Spurs. As always, you're kicking us off here on a Monday. So I couldn't think of a better way to do that. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever we get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kins 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know what to do. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow. I believe Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports, he's going to be joining us, talking all things silver and black. Yeah, cannot wait for that. So we got off season. Hey, summer league starting up soon. There's just so much going on right now.
Free agency frenzy, baby.
Long. And free agency frenzy as well. But for James' pleasure, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.